Rolling.
Backboss rolling.
Action.
One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Rock and roll gave to me.
Cool.
Cool indeed. Believe it or not, that was at the end of 2 14-hour days of shooting, and although they look happy, believe me, they weren't. At that point, they were seriously flagging. Over the next half an hour, we're going to explore what an amateur writer, such as myself, has to go through in order to see the words move from paper to the screen.
He's what we used to call an ant back in the day.
An ant?
Yeah, annoying, nerdy tosser.
Personally, I love laughing. It's one of my favourite things, and in my view, there's no better way to laugh than by watching a funny comedy on the TV. The average adult laughs 17 times a day. This is one trait where I can tell you I'm way above average, and I always see comedy in everyday things. I love a good sitcom, and in particular Aid Edmondson and the late Rick Mayall's Bottom.
Hello, gentlemen. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Which one of you is Mr. Hitler?
That'll be me.
Any relation?
Well, I've got a mother.
No. I meant Adolf Hitler.
Yes, that's her.
Around 16 years ago, I was in a band. I began to take some lessons from a local musician, and it's fair to say he was a bit of a madman. At the same time, the band were going to a very quirky music studio. I simply put the two together, and Jonny Toogood and the studio were born. It wasn't until 2011 that I actually started writing it though. Whether it was family life, work or laziness, I just never got round to finishing it. I went on a course, but it wasn't until I read some screenwriting books that I got the motivation to complete the script. But it wasn't until 2018 that I actually finished it. Also, I thought, a friend recommended that I go to the West Midlands Screenwriters Forum run by Ian Kennedy to get my script checked out. It transpired that my script made no sense. I learnt that it wasn't formatted correctly. Formatting? What's that? So with the help of the forum and useful websites such as BBC Writers' Room, I finally formatted it in the right way. Pleased with myself, I took it back to the group. A rewrite? What's that? I entered the script into some competitions and inquired with some small indie producers. For some reason, none of them ever responded. It was at the Screenwriters Forum that I first met esteemed filmmaker, acclaimed actor and best-selling author Julian Austwick. During the period of non-response despair, Julian repeatedly encouraged me to do something about it myself, offering time and again to help. Enter my midlife crisis. In 2019 I was going to turn 40. I therefore decided that I was going to stop feeling sorry for myself and just get it done. The question was, how? This was when Julian suggested that I come along to a movie making club that he was involved with. He suggested that I pitch the idea to the group. I decided to take him up on his suggestion and put myself well and truly out of my comfort zone, standing up in front of a baying crowd at Sutton Coldfield Movie Makers. Amazingly, it struck a chord with members who immediately offered their assistance in various different ways. Having never made a film before, I was unsure of the various roles. As it turned out, for a film of my size, it didn't need to be quite so complicated.
Do you want me to put a voice on there? Yes, you are. It clearly says that you're open at 2 o'clock.
Step forward, the dream team.
China.
Can you see my tongue?
No, you can see that from the other angle, so you'll be fine. Don't worry about it now.
Both here
Chat.
to have a chat about Chris Cooper's documentary. Yeah. Okay. Right. I've called you both here to have a chat about Chris Cooper's documentary.
I'm okay, Andy.
Yep.
Can you just say...
It's okay, absolutely spitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or would it be better so you could see the guitar?
It's at this point that I feel the need to apologise to Giada Mazzolini, who had very kindly offered to be the producer. Right from the start, that was doomed, as I just couldn't let go and felt the need to be in control.
Yeah. I'll be watching whilst what?
Clearly better off in the background. The first role that was filled was the aforementioned Julian as director. There he is, behind the camera. And in case you missed him, there he is again. One thing that I'd never even thought about was equipment. I had no idea the sheer amount of different gadgets that would be required. Step forward Sutton Coldfield Movie Makers, whose members provided everything that was needed. Other than Julian, the first person to offer his services at Sutton Coldfield Movie Makers was this gentleman.
Cut. Showing.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Robin Slater and I play regular customer Ralph at the studio.
The next role that was filled was that of the main character. He is my first cousin once removed, and I recruited him at a family birthday celebration. He had never acted before, despite being the lead singer in a covers band. He had been on the telly before though.
Chris Fielding, aka Jonny Toogood.
I mentioned earlier that Chris was in a covers band, and here they are. Chris also managed to recruit 2 members of their fan club to play the 2 other main roles. The next person to come on board was the son of a colleague who was playing a very obnoxious student.
I'm kind of excited, so I'm like watching the camera and I'm saying like, well, here's where we begin our documentary and everything. And then, are you zooming in on my face?
I'm just taking little outtakes.
And then right here, and then it's like, we're going to say, so basically he's like general manager, because he starts talking about, oh, I'm the general manager, and he's like, oh, that sounds important, what does that job entail and stuff. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Charlie Duffy, otherwise known as Chris Cooper. So.
Other smaller roles were filled by friends, family, and even the crew.
You say?
What I'm saying? Why?
Tips.
Tips for what?
You know, anything that...
When I was at school, I wouldn't say I was popular. But I wasn't unpopular.
Could you be any more boring, man? I mean, blah, 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 I open up,
I got a cool job at a music venue.
Going to be an insight into the...
No, I've got it. That's it.
Amongst us, the normal folk.
As it turned out, finding locations to film wasn't all that difficult. A football club in Solihull, where I'm a volunteer, was available to use during the football season's summer break. The clubhouse had plenty of room for 2 of the main settings, the studio reception and Johnny's office, not to mention all of the crew and the equipment. Even the gents' toilets came in useful. The other main setting was a stage area where the students' documentary would be shown. Fortunately, Chris knew the owners of a pub in Lichfield where he and the band played regularly. The owners of this fabulous venue, Mike and Tracy Kingston, very kindly allowed us to use the pub one morning before they opened. Everything was coming together nicely, and then just a few weeks before filming, disaster struck. The members of the band's fan club who had agreed to play two of the main roles dropped out unexpectedly due to personal reasons. With little idea what to do, Julian suggested advertising the roles on Star Now, a website where thousands of actors and actresses register their credentials. Amazingly, we received 51 applications. 2 immediately stood out, and after a rigorous dual interview in a professional setting, I decided to go with my gut instinct and brought them both on board.
I'm Ross Carradine and I play Tom, the manager.
Right then, that's the last lot of the day. So I'm going to be up in the office, ready for your payments. It's cash or cash, it's all going the same way.
Kayleigh Chapmalin, aka Penny.
With no budget, I had to ask the actors to wear their own clothes.
Don't tell me you forgot the line. You just done the...
Obviously though, we wanted them to each have a certain look. I wanted Jonny Toogood to be dressed like an old-fashioned rock and roller, head to toe in black. Dressing up on stage in various costumes for the band, Chris had plenty of ideas and decided upon a goth look, even growing his hair specifically in the months before.
Do you want to see me play now, no? No, forget that. That was rubbish. Sorry. Okay, try. And again.
For just one joke, he even had this done.
What you would call one of life's great people. Pleased to call my
Being a bit of a nerd, the Ralph character was also meant to have a unique and quirky look. The hat and sunglasses combo, provided by actor Robin, proved an inspired choice.
God, you're beyond help.
So we're all applauding.
The other 2 employees were a little bit easier for different reasons. Actress Kayleigh had the ideal look already. And with the Tom character being quite straight-laced, a simple jeans and t-shirt combo would suffice.
Now that is rock and roll.
Being so self-important, I always imagined that the students would have a dark look and always wear sunglasses. His disciples would also dress in a similar way. Having Chris on board proved to be a godsend when it came to the music that was required for the show. They wrote the opening song, which I first heard when Chris sent this to me as a demo that they had recorded in one of the band members' kitchens. Despite being recorded on an iPhone, I loved the song and gave my obvious approval. Here's the recorded version. Although the professional recorded version was brilliant, in my mind that was a problem. It was just too polished. I decided to stick with the gritty iPhone recording instead. Being a musical show based in a music studio, I had very early on decided to include a musical interlude, much in the same way as they used to years before in The Young Ones.
Only pop music can save us now!
The idea was that we would use an unsigned band to hopefully give them a different kind of exposure to the outside world. Sadly, despite advertising, we received no interest, so step forward the Party Poppers once more with another original song. The song went down so well with the regulars at the Feathers that quite a few people approached me to ask where they could download it from. In most sitcoms, musical transitions in between scenes are commonplace, and the studio is no different. Step forward the Party Poppers once more.
1, 2, 3, 4!
1, 2, 3, 4. Jonny, toogood.
Being a comedy, we didn't want the laughs to end at the final scene, so the idea was born that the band would recreate the opening song, Rock and Roll Royalty, in the style of a well-known artist and would sing it live. You'll see the entire performance later on. Given the style of the comedy, it was important that we had a fixed set for the front desk. Julian casually mentioned that one could be built. This one had me stumped. Over a beer one night, I mentioned this problem to my friend Simon, who just so happens to be a dab hand at DIY. He offered his services and told me what was needed. Simon, my dad Barry and I built the set the night before shooting, although I think the only reason I was able to rope my dad in was the fact that we were going to the pub afterwards. I then had the issue of dressing the set. On the morning of the shoot, I set about this task. Over a period of months, I amassed a collection of posters in order to provide an authentic look.
I knew him well, you know, Horatio.
I even invented some new posters, obviously keeping the comedy theme going.
Ralph, you walk in. That was rolling, camera rolling. So this is scene 1, part 2.
Hang on, 2 seconds, sorry.
Yeah, right. Okay, quiet please. And action.
Obviously, there were bound to be some issues though.
Why are you cleaning?
It's a surprise, man.
Not another one.
What are you on about? Not another one.
Is that me?
Yeah. I think.
It's okay, cut, because the poster fell down anyway.
Yeah, you remember the last time you surprised me?
In any shoot, health and safety is an important issue and should be taken very seriously.
Yeah. Right, Ian, do you want to do your little health and safety spiel, just so everybody knows?
Okay, can I? So wait for me to say the what at the start. Yeah. What?
You want me to trip over it? Yeah. You're going to dance around.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have everybody's attention, please? Health and safety, very important. I'm going to keep it very simple. The main problem we're going to have here is trips and falls. So be careful walking around. Try to keep everything into a pile so that people don't keep tripping over your personal belongings. There's 2 exits. The one that came through is the main emergency exit. There's one down there, it's got loads of bolts on, but I've taken all the bolts off except for the one middle bolt. So if you have to go out through that door, you just have to release the one middle bolt and you'll be straight out. Okay.
Finally, we were ready to go.
So remember, if we keep quiet please until we say cut, then that will be very helpful.
Camera
That includes
rolling,
rustling of
rolling.
papers and everything as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Johnny, you ready?
Yeah.
You ready, Ross?
Yeah.
Cool. And 5, 4, action.
Are you cleaning?
No, hang on. I've got to say what. Give me a minute, I've got to say what.
Okay, cut.
Sorry.
This, like any shoot, was to prove to be a common theme.
It's you, innit?
Thought you were going to say your line again.
Oh, are we? Sorry.
My bad. We ended up really drunk. We didn't end up really drunk. You ended up really drunk.
Responsible to put those two venues right next to each other, man.
Shit.
Age range. Be more of a balls! But the presidency got him the balls. No, it fucking didn't.
Got in The Apprentice.
American Apprentice, and now he's. Yeah. Now he's living the dream.
Now he's swallowing?
Yes, now he's a drag queen.
Yeah.
Says you.
Okay.
Retiring.
What? No.
Are you having a stroke, Johnny?
Yeah.
Must be your age.
That's the age thing, yeah.
Week. Just fast food. Balls. Sorry. Starved himself to death. Sorry.
Oh fuck, sorry. Hold on, I won't do that again. I was just way too
Okay,
slow.
I'm a rock and roller. You'll have to wheel me out of here in a box.
Why you always on nice with you? Who's already me? I don't know.
I saw it
Okay, take it from. She got pneumonia.
It's because you're getting really close to me. Like,
Yeah, sorry.
A lot closer than you did before.
What?
You feel that close to me. I almost feel connected to him.
And action.
Are you retiring?
Sorry. I'm just. You want to shoot it here?
Yes.
Well, that's nice then.
In Death Switch, you end up watching a children's Telly Bubbles concert. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's an easy mistake.
It's an easy mistake to make, man. God.
Merry Christmas, Dennis Gordon.
The student's documentary was purposely meant to look rubbish in order to highlight his total arrogance even more. I suppose because it was meant to look bad was the reason I took charge of this part. Straight on instead of sideways filming was actually done by accident, perhaps highlighting my inexperience. Weirdly, it actually added to the authenticity though. Impressively, actor Casey Erickson did shoot some of the actual footage used for the documentary whilst being filmed himself. The important and very funny flashback scene was once again filmed at the football club. It involved yet more inventive costumes. Given the fact that there was no dialogue or sound required, Julian and I were able to complete this part of the filming on our own.
There were loads of people at school who wanted to jump with me.
Julian took on the mammoth task of editing most of the episode. This requires patience and a huge amount of skill. There are literally hundreds of pieces of footage that have to be put together like a jigsaw puzzle. It was important though that we took our time and got it right, because a bad edit would ruin everyone's hard work. Editing highlighted some mistakes made during filming, such as this scene which we had to drop due to lack of camera angles.
5.
See? Huge! In Mazza, 20% of the population love me, man.
So, what's this meeting all about?
I need you all to be on your best behaviour.
Very rock and roll.
Now you're right. Worst behaviour. Even you. Oh, God, you're beyond help.
Just to compare, here's how it ended up looking.
5.
God, you're beyond help.
Having already shown the actors the episode, it was agreed that we would add some canned laughter to add some atmosphere. That was fine by me, as it was always my intention for this to be filmed in front of a live audience. Amid much excitement, we premiered the episode to the members of Sutton Coldfield Movie Makers, and whilst it went down well, there were a lot of comments about the over-the-top laughter. What was I thinking? Following this, Julian again came to the rescue, and now the laughter he included in the final version is, we think, just about right. The coronavirus situation caused us to change our thinking in relation to showing it to the masses. We decided to release it on YouTube and set a date. A carefully orchestrated social media campaign followed, with videos prepared by all actors as well as Julian and I.
I know to press record for crying out loud.
New first episode of the up-and-coming sitcom, The Studio.
Hi guys, my name is Ross Carradise and I play Tom in an upcoming sitcom called The Studio.
Hi, I'm Kayleigh Chapmalin and I play Penny on episode 1 of The Studio.
Okay, everybody stop what they're doing and shut up.
And Kayleigh, it's just great to work with. Let me show you where the magic happens.
We even arranged for Jill Lampert of Sutton Coldfield Movie Makers to interview me on Zoom.
You wrote the script for The Studio. What's it all about?
Okay, so it revolves around a...
Very eloquent. On the day of the premiere, I was extremely nervous, but it was very satisfying to see the views coming in. Amazingly, over 13,000 people have now watched it, and that makes me extremely proud. Although I would ideally like to see The Studio on the TV, I know that this is a long shot, but I'm really pleased with the fact that this episode has been completed. However, both Julian, the crew, the actors and I are not content with this and want to make more. With 2 further episodes written, parts 2 and 3 are being filmed later in this year. Still in lockdown, we are undertaking a series of script read-throughs with the actors over Zoom.
And now we're working on part 2. Say hello, everyone.
Hello.
Should be fun.
Oh, your aunt's disappearance.
Here's 2 of the new guest characters.
To you. In your mind, what's the key to a tip-top business?
Now you tempestuous temptress. Dinner, then back to mine. What do you say?
Before showing the end credits again, I felt I had to show you the now infamous Brazil scene.
Which you recorded in Brazil. Didn't record it in Brazil, did they? Released it in Brazil. Sorry.
Yeah.
You've only one album in your entire musical career. And then you fucking... You released it, man! You released that album.
Cut.
Is there a...
Do you have any hit singles?
Brazil, 1939. 1939, 1977, number 39.
1939, it was on...
1939, number 77, in Brazil.
It was released on wax cylinder.
Brilliant song on violin. Oh, fuck off. Come on. Top 40 in Brazil. Please get it right.
And so yes.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm just going a bit mental. Sorry, I'm having a Brazil moment. Many have tried, but they never match up to me. The groupies hang around, 'cause I want a piece of me. They run for the hills when I show them my PhD. Rock and roll, wanna rock and roll royalty. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Praise be to God. Thank you. Raise the speed and emotion.
Pushing pencils.